on this show tonight, and we're going to begin with some news that broke late Friday afternoon. Elon Musk tweeted, xAI has acquired X in an all-stock transaction. The combination values xAI at $80 billion and X at $33 billion, $45 billion less $12 billion debt. Since its founding 2 years ago, xAI has rapidly become one of the leading AI labs in the world, building models and data centers at unprecedented speed and scale. X is the digital town square where more than 600 million active users go to find the real-time source of ground truth, and in the last 2 years has been transformed into one of the most efficient companies in the world, positioning it to deliver scalable future growth. So, Ben, this caused a bit of a hubbub on Friday afternoon. I'm now trying to get a sense for whether that news actually matters, because it was my understanding that xAI had been working with X data all along. So does this news actually change anything for xAI, or is the new arrangement effectively a distinction without any real difference?
Yeah, I mean, some people were trying to like raise like, oh, no, this is so wrong, and what are these numbers? Look, they're all private transactions. I was messaging a friend, I'm like, in case you missed it, X went private a couple years ago. So does Elon Musk have fiduciary duty to the investors in this deal? Yes, he does. Does he have their permission to do that? I would assume so. Do we know or have any insight? Is this no? It's not a public market company, so just putting that out there, number one. Number two, this is why I didn't write about or mention the reports about like X being profitable or not, or what the valuation was, because a huge amount of their revenue was being paid from xAI for access to their data. So, which again is the right hand paying the left, which again is fine. The X data is very valuable. Like, so, but that does speak to, there is value in acquiring X, in that they're not now paying for X data, sort of, again, leaving aside the numbers. Is this a deal that makes sense? Yes, it is. And I would go one step further, which is to say, the structure of this deal probably does speak to the long-term potential value of X, which has always been the real-time data, right? Like, and for ages, I it's hard to keep track of what the various things that I prescribed for Twitter over the years, trying to make
12
this into
years of recommendations that were not heeded. Yes.
And just bailing on it multiple times and not writing about it. At first, because it was like, look, this is a failed business. There's no point writing about the business. Then once Elon takes over, it's like so radioactive. And also now it's private, so you don't even have numbers to look at. I mean, people forget Twitter, I think, had one profitable quarter in terms like ever, like in its entire run. Maybe it was 2 or 3. It might have been like 3. But the cash
I remember
flow
because we got that email on the last episode asking for our group chat segment, and I had to go back and look at some of our discussions in like November 2022, and there was a lot of Twitter discussion back then, and I remember being astounded looking back at how unprofitable they had been in the 10 years prior to Elon. So whether it was 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, it wasn't good. It's the clear takeaway.
It was not good. So yeah, it is an important thing to keep in mind. The biggest flaw in the entire Musk management acquisition whole thing was how much he paid, because it was, but the reality, you could argue he's already gotten his money's worth, as we mentioned, a few months ago, because the influence of Twitter has always far exceeded its monetization potential. And and this bit about real-time access being valuable to me has always been interesting, and why I think they acquired Mopub back in the day. And it's interesting because they then spun Mopub off to AppLovin, and AppLovin has done amazing things with it from a business perspective. But my view was, look, this is a data play. Like, this whole company should be a data play. They should be selling access at much higher rates to the data that they have, and there's way more monetization potential in this regard. And this is maybe like a backwards way to that, where what is going to differentiate models in the long run? Well, one thing that is valuable, and to me, one of the biggest Grok use cases, is its access to at least the sense of access to much more real-time data, and can it surface that consistently and usefully from X? We'll see how that plays out in the long run. But from a very high level, again, setting aside all the particulars, obviously setting aside all the politics, does this make sense that a would-be AI company acquires Twitter? Again, leaving aside it's the same person on both sides of the equation. Does this
Right.
make sense? Yes, I think it does make sense. I think it makes a great deal of sense. And it makes sense in this order, that it's the AI company acquiring Twitter as a really valuable input to being a potential winning product in the market.
Well, and in terms of real time data for X, how much more valuable is it now that these AI companies are reliant on real time data or get much better with real time data than it was in, say, 2016, 2017? It seems like they've waited around long enough so that there's now more of a market for what they can provide.
Yeah, this is just another way to do what I proposed ages ago. Like, I thought they should have been selling like API feeds and have a much more developed API and access to data for traders, for Wall Street. And
Okay.
maybe this is going to end up being an even larger opportunity, so it will work out in the long run. But again, I just want to be, we're talking at a very high level. If you just zoom out, is there valuable data on Twitter/X? Yes. Does that make it? Is this one way to manifest it? Certainly. So we'll see how it plays out. But at least from a big picture perspective, again, setting aside the numbers, does this make sense? Yes, I think it does.
Indeed. Well, and the initial Twitter investors look like they're going to be taken care of here. Another funny
Well,
thing,
they're taken care of to the extent they're now all in on xAI. Like, so
which I would feel better about than
yeah.
being all in on X, frankly. As much as X is apparently doing better than ever these days.
Yeah,
I
we'll
don't know
see.
how
I
much
mean,
I'd
I don't know.
buy
The quality
that.
of ads I get are certainly not very high. Don't speak to
Right.
this being a very thriving platform. So, and I
What
like
I
to say
will
I have a
say,
fairly, you know, I shouldn't be getting the level of trash ads that I do. But we'll see.
well, there was about a year there where I was constantly served Cheech and Chong marijuana gummy ads on X, and they
Oh, I
seem
just
to
get
have
these
graduated
atrocious
past
crypto
that.
ads. Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah, like
there is a
right the
lot of
last
trashy
week
crypto
there's been all
stuff.
these like Apple token things that are just it's ridiculous. It's disgusting. I did on my burner account apply. I do have like the highest level one now just to get rid of ads. I've realized, like,
Okay.
look, it's pretty expensive, but I use this a lot, so it's worth it for me not to see it. And then every time I go to one of my other, I'm really being punished for having the multiple X accounts. It's rough. It's pretty
The
brutal.
algorithm, your algorithms are so confused by your Twitter usage. I will say, going back to fall of 2022, one story that I had completely forgotten about before I had to search through our archives last week was there was that weekend where X like had fired everybody, and then it looked like it went dark for a little while, and there were all these Twitter eulogies about how the service
No,
was
it
just
never
not going
went
to
dark. No,
survive.
it never went dark. This was a completely spun up, fanciful, it's going to go dark news
Ah,
cycle that, like,
it's
again,
pretty funny to relive a couple years later.
yeah, I mean, it should give everyone pause about, this is just, yeah, it never happened. And it's funny because it's hard. Like, I think Twitter's actually been quite it goes through periods of quite a bit of instability. I think it's been quite unstable over the last week or so.
Mm,
And is the infrastructure as stable and as reliable as it was back then? I still don't think it is,
yeah.
but it's also the case they did cut costs by like 80%. So I mean, it's mostly still functioning. So I think everyone kind of looks kind of dumb about the whole thing for sure.
Well, I had one other question on xAI. What is the lesson from xAI? Because Elon's tweet mentions spinning this up in 2 years, which is frankly pretty unbelievable. Is it that anyone who has enough money can just buy GPUs and hire the best engineering talent and eventually release competitive models within a couple years? Or was this blueprint something that Elon was uniquely situated to execute?
I think both is the answer. I mean, it is spun up remarkably fast, and
Mm-hmm.
also you know, they executed extremely well and rapidly and hired great talent, which I think Musk does well. And
Okay.
so one takeaway is that this is Grok is a testament of the commoditization of these models, which I think is absolutely a takeaway. And also, it's not like, could Apple do this tomorrow?
Mm.
That is an open question. It certainly speaks to the idea that they could. And also, Musk is very good at getting very hard projects out the door at way more rapidly than you thought would be possible. So
Yeah.
I would say a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.